Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by The Best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off. The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.
Gloves Off, and today we have a great guest, Attorney Marilena Morales, who's going to be running for Justice of the Precinct 1, Place 1. How are we doing? You doing good,
Doing
Mister?
good.
How's everything?
Doing good.
How was Christmas?
Christmas was great.
Did you spend it with your family?
I spent it with my son. That's my precious gift from God, and I was happy.
That's awesome, that's awesome. Well, it's, you know, we've known each other for quite a while,
Quite a while.
and I wanted to kind of figure out, why would you throw your name in the hat? Why?
You know, after 41 years of practicing law, Polito, and going out there, being in the trenches, just working hard for my clients, I think I'm at a point in my life where I want to give back to this community all the blessings that I've been bestowed upon. And it's something that I think that, you know, my knowledge of the law, actually working day and having a private practice, it's a business. You know, you learn to make the most out of the money that you have, to administer it, and I think that I have a lot to offer to the community in terms of my knowledge and what I want to help. You know, I want to help the people in this community with that knowledge that I have.
Absolutely. You know, our judge that's there now, Judge Liendo, he's stepping down, and one of the major things that he would always care about was the truancy, the issues with truancy, and he was always busting his head. You know, we have a problem. I don't know how we can do it. How would you take that into play? Because the truancy has changed in a couple of years.
Yes,
right?
it has. And you know what's interesting, and I'm glad you brought that up. There will be a change come this election. In 2001 and 2021, there will be a new judge there. The question is whether we want to have just a new face, or do you really want to have true change in there? And what I'm talking about is the law changed in 2015. It changed that it decriminalized. It's no longer a crime to be a truant. But it also, because I think the legislature finally realized that you have to have more than just, you're gonna get into trouble with the law and you're gonna be found guilty and you're gonna be criminalized for it. Instead of that, they're saying, wait a minute, we're still missing the point here. Why aren't our students going to school? What are the real causes? So they figured out that by making it a civil matter and making it mandatory for the school districts to come up with a more proactive and remedial plan for their students, that helped them make sure that students wanted to go to school and that they would address the root of the problem. I think studies have shown that the root of the problems is sometimes poverty. They're bullied, that's why they don't attend school. Sometimes it's because they're the primary breadwinners of a family. Amazingly, in this time and age, you know, that's one of the problems. So by having the school districts come up with a plan, which is called a remedial plan, and this precinct is in the, this precinct and this place deals with most of the poor areas of the LISD, of the school district, of Laredo Independent School District. So I think that our youth is of primary importance, and I think that we need to protect them, and I think that we want to make sure that they go to school. You and I know that in this time, and that it is very important that our students graduate. It's no longer just graduate from high school and get a good job. It's graduate from high school, have the opportunity to go to college, and then get a good job.
Absolutely. And I'm with you that in the area where you're going to be representing, or that this place takes in, it is the most poverty-stricken part of LISD. And I always tell everybody this. I see a lot of programs where a person has already gone astray to try to fix them. But there's actually no programs to try to prevent it. There's no
Correct.
preventative programs.
And that's
That's something
exactly
that
what
we
the
have to try to
change
do.
in the law is. And my plans as a justice of the peace is to be a proactive justice of the peace. What does that mean? That means that I have no doubt that if I'm available to go talk to students in connection with the school district, you go talk to them and tell them this is what will happen if you don't follow this program, if you're still absent, and if you don't really tell the school officials why is it that you're not going to school. and so that they can address it and have other programs available for them. Have some, maybe outside counseling, if they need counseling. Have some, once you go through the program and the school district determines that that this child is not going to go to school, that he will continue to be truant, that's when the law says you've got to bring him before the court. Before that, I think that if we get involved as judges in there and tell them, this is what's going to happen to you if you don't go to school. You're going to fail this program. They're going to have to take you to my court. And this is going to happen there. And if you continue not to go to school, because at that point you still have the opportunity to give them an opportunity to go to school, kind of like a probation type of situation. And at the end of the program, I believe, and I think that it is very important to show them, or to somehow, not that you're going to give them a prize for going to school, but that you're going to recognize the efforts that the students are making, that their parents are making, to make sure that the students stay in school. Some sort of a program, like a graduation type of thing, and you get the private sector involved in there. You get them to give you some sort of maybe scholarships for the students that went through this program and were successful and stayed in school and graduated from high school.
You're absolutely correct. You know, what I see, you know, in truancy, you've talked about bullying, you've talked about poverty, and the main breadwinners. Kind of changes because the main breadwinners are usually in junior high or high school when they're actually working, you know, in jobs and trying to help the family. And you start seeing that now, and I've talked with some of the board members and trustees of some of the school districts, and I said, when this happened, how come we don't have a night high school for these individuals that have to do that, that have to work?
And you know, another issue, another area that I think that my experience as a lawyer will bring to this position is the fact that I've done a lot of family law. And there is no reason why a 15, 16, 17-year-old child isn't being supported by their father.
Absolutely.
And so,
or mother.
Or mother. And in that respect, I think that experience that I've had is, you know, working with the Attorney General's office, making sure that they do go through the system in there so that they can get child support. Because you'd be surprised how many cases just fall off the radar because there's no one pushing for it. And I think that my experience in that area would certainly be of help in making sure that children are not truants.
Absolutely. What other types of cases do you see in the JP court?
I was very pleasantly surprised that a lot of the areas that I'm very familiar with are also within the jurisdiction of the court. And that's namely protective orders, emergency protective orders, which is something that is essential. And I'm talking about protective orders not just for women, but men as well. Because in my experience, it is not just women that suffer domestic abuse, but also men, children. So to me, that's something that I already know how it works. What are the signs? What are the issues that you look for in a protective order? Of course, you know, you have your peace bonds. That's a very important area where you know, and peace bonds, to distinguish them from the difference between a protective order and a peace bond is given to people who are not related, who have no type of relationship. Your neighbor, for example, is not part of a household, is not in a dating relationship with you. That's when you use the peace bond as opposed to a protective order. My knowledge in those areas, you know, I'd be able to to hear those cases and make a decision on them. Going back to the truancy, it's very important that we do expeditious hearings on those cases. I've spoken to some school officials and they tell me that sometimes it takes 4 to 6 weeks to hear a case, and by that time this child would have already missed another 10 days or another. So in essence, because the system is backlogged, you're making him or making that student be more truant, if that can be a word, you know, so.
Understood.
And of course, civil cases that, small claims cases that go up to $10,000, most of my practice within the last 10, 15 years have been purely in civil matters. And so I don't need to be trained. I can hit the ground running as far as civil cases are concerned. Another area that you have in there that a lot of people, I myself didn't realize, is that you can do expungements of misdemeanors where the fine is the only penalty. And we all know that sometimes you make a mistake, you get a ticket, and then you don't expunge your record, and then you have to disclose that you do have some sort of a criminal background. So that's important in there, you know, the expungement. Landlord tenant, you know, people trying to get you out of the house. I have found in a lot of these cases that a lot of times people have contracts to buy property. And then you finish paying for it, and then the seller doesn't want to give you title to the property, and they go and they sue you in JP court and say, oh, he's a tenant. You should get him out. Wait. That's not a tenant relationship. I understand those issues.
Understood.
In other words, I can say, wait. You're not really a tenant and you're not really a landlord. You promised to sell and he promised to buy and he's paid you off or she's paid you off. That's a title dispute. Goes to a different court.
Absolutely.
And that happens a lot. You'd be surprised
Especially
how
here.
people get treated as tenants when they're not really tenants. So I know the rights of each individual when it comes to that. And I think one of the most important things that I think that I know I can bring into this court is we need to usher this court into the 21st century as far as technology is concerned. We need to set up a website that is friendly user. We need to have the forms that people can use in the internet. This is the people's court, so you don't need a lawyer to go to this court. You can represent yourself and the forms are there, but they're not on the internet right now. So to me, it's of utmost importance that we update this court, that we bring it into the 21st century, that we put in our website all the possible forms of the possible cases that this court has jurisdiction. And I've even spoken to some people we have so many resources in this community, Paul. You know, for example, the university that has Spanish professors that would probably be willing to translate some of those forms so that we can have them in English and in Spanish for those non-English speaking people.
You know, funny you should mention that. We're in this time and age and we live in Laredo and we still don't have forms that are in Spanish. That is kind of, where do we drop the ball? We dropped the ball a while back. And, you know, that's a problem here. We have to move forward. And we live in a community that, you know, that for the longest time, everybody spoke Spanish here. Here, you know, you have Spanish, you have English, and then we have Tex-Mex here in Laredo. And that dialect is very much spoken in this part of South Texas. And people grew up with Spanish here, okay? It's not like if it's English is a second language. English was our first language and Spanish was our first language. I don't know which one was first. It just happened the way it is, you know? And so we do need those forms. We do need those forms to be done that way, not only in the JP court, throughout. I don't even know why it's not. And it's in the city, and in unison everywhere, you know, everything has to be done that way.
In this particular court, there is no website, there are no forms available, and that's a must. In this time and age, where people just rely on the internet, they go onto a website, they download the information that they need, they download the forms that they need, and of course, people in person that want to do it in person, of course, they're welcome. They'll be welcome, whether their forms are on the internet or not. But a lot of our younger people, they rely entirely on the internet. So if they want to file a small claims, they go to the internet, they say, okay, what kind of a form do I need to download? And there's all kinds of links that you can have. Texas legal Legal Foundation has forms available that you can direct it to them. But the primary ones, landlord-tenant cases, small claims, protective orders, your peace bond forms, there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the internet and why they should not be translated. And then and people might feel more comfortable, you know, if they understand the Spanish language better and they can write it,
Absolutely.
than to do it in English, because sometimes it's lost in translation. So to me, it's be very friendly user in setting up that website. And that would be, that is one of my plans, if elected to this position, that I would bring it into the 21st century.
Besides changing the forms and bringing them, what else would you like to see in this court?
What I would like to see in this court is, like I said, a program, overall program with the truancy, where students understand that attendance does count, have some sort of, at the end of the program, if they comply, if they do it successfully, that I get the private businesses involved in giving them some sort, maybe a scholarship, some sort of a prize, something, so that it's not just like, because we don't really know why they're in that situation. And it could be as simple as, I don't wanna go to school, which studies have shown it's not really that, but it's more poverty, bullying, you know. And of course, you might have some issues with people that need counseling,
Sure.
that maybe need some special education. We don't know until you deal with them. So to me, you know, attendance is important, and be able to emphasize it, set up some sort of coalition, talk to the school officials, ask them what they think the role of the judge should be. And from my understanding is, be compassionate, that's my theme. You know, dispense justice with compassion, because you can't just sit there and say, oh, everybody's wrong and I'm right. We don't know the situation. That's what justices of the peace are there. There is a direct, there should be a direct communication. Most of the time they don't have a lawyer. And it's set up that way, so that you don't need a lawyer to talk to the judge, to explain the case to the judge. And my promise is that I will expeditiously dispose of the cases, so that they don't get into more trouble just because I'm not hearing the cases.
You know, that's a two-way fold, the thing with the expediting the case. If the cases are not being brought forth from the school district, it's being taking that long much of a time, and then it hits the court, well, they also have to be up to par.
They're doing a good job, because the statute requires that they have a plan. And actually, there was a coalition formed by both school districts, and they came up with a plan that is required by the legislature. And they have, in LISD, they have what I call the three-step program. And, you know, it's the identification, then they set you up either for counseling, they set you up for tutoring, they set you up for whatever you need in order for you to attend school. And then if you fail that and you still don't go to school, that's when, you know, well, we're gonna file this with the court. And at that point, you still have the opportunity to listen to the student, to listen to the parent, to listen to the school district, and figure out how can you help this student continue his education or her education.
If, talking about help, if the truancy is being caused by, let's say, drug abuse, does the court have the ability to send a
Yes.
child to go to counseling or to
Yes.
get drug counseling?
Yes, of course. That's where, hopefully, that would have been picked up
Mhm.
at the school level. But if it isn't, there's another way. Then you have this other opportunity over here. And there's several exceptions to how you can be absent. For example, if you are the primary breadwinner of the family, which in my opinion, like I said, if you're a child,
You should not.
you shouldn't have to work, and
No.
let's bring in the parent that's supposed to pay child support and isn't paying child
If,
support.
if child support is the reason.
If child support is the reason that nobody's supporting you, then, you know, you have to
Well,
work for your support.
Um,
That's something that needs to be, clarified at that point. Of course, if somebody is, for example, if CPS has taken them away and they're in foster care kids, unfortunately, you know, they're shuffled from home to home.
absolutely.
Hopefully they get one home and it's a steady home. I've done a lot of CPS cases, and we end up with the kids being in San Antonio, being in the Valley, and if they're in school, that's a problem, because if
Absolutely.
that person doesn't wanna have them anymore, and you've gotta then transport them somewhere else in the state, you know, that could be the reason why they're not going to school. So those are some exceptions to the law. In other words, if I'm absent because I'm a foster student, then the law says, or the statute says, you really can't refer me to the judge because this is my good reason. Now, these are unexcused reasons, and each school district can have rules or set guidelines as to what are excused reasons. And of course, what hasn't changed is the fact that the parents can still be charged if the judge finds that you have been negligent in sending your child to school.
Absolutely.
In other words, and negligence, as we all know, it's a standard, a legal standard, you know, that standard of care. If you just don't care, then more than likely
You're gonna get fined.
you're right.
Now, it's interesting that you said that with foster care, because there's a lot of kids that are in foster care. There's a lot of kids in foster care.
And having done a lot of CPS cases, I can tell you that sometimes, they'll just send us a letter saying, oh, your kid is in the Valley.
Yeah.
Kid, or if they have special needs,
Absolutely.
they're in San Antonio, or they're in Corpus,
Absolutely.
or they're in the hospital, or for whatever reason. So there are some exceptions in the statute as to who cannot, even though you've been absent the 10 days, that you are excused by law.
Here we, changing the subject just a little bit more. Now, coming to your campaign, have you run a campaign before? Have you run
Yes,
before?
I have. I've run before. Yes, I have. And I think that at this point in my life, I feel very good about the campaign. I feel that I can make a difference in this position because of the experience that I've had. I've not been an office lawyer. I've actually been a litigator. I've actually go to court almost every day of my life. And I've represented very poor people, some pro bono, to very rich people. So I think that I have a feel for most people. You know, so I didn't specialize in just representing those that could afford me as opposed to those that couldn't afford me.
Understood. If people want to get in touch with you to find out more about you, how can they get in touch with you?
They can call my campaign. It's at 956-723-6004.
Do you have a campaign headquarters
Yes, I do. It's at 1514 Victoria, downtown.
downtown?
I'm a
And-
few blocks from the
From the-
truancy program for the Laredo Independent School District. I think I'm about 2 or 3 blocks.
Absolutely, because there's just down there, absolutely. If it's the same place that I'm thinking of. And the area that you represent is from where to where?
The area, precinct 1.
So it's pretty big.
Precinct 1 is actually just precinct 1. Place 1 is because there's 2 judges.
Right.
But it's pretty big. It's basically from the river in the west side to Market on the south side. It entails all of El Cuatro, La Ladrillera, you know, Los Amores, all of the west side, downtown, La Azteca, goes down to and then it comes up to the Heights area on the other side of the freeway, Guadalupe, Gallego School, all of those, Nixon, all of the Heights area.
Arkansas?
Arkansas goes to Ejido. Then
Goes
it
up to
comes,
Saunders, right?
it goes up to Saunders, but it makes it's kind of a funny meandering boundary out there, right below where San Martin de Porres is, Papas, that little area, and then it goes on to Hillside, and,
Calle del
and
Norte.
the Calle del Norte. It takes all of Calle del Norte, all of those subdivisions there. Right behind the mall is Belmont, that it takes into account Hillside,
Yeah,
from
Hillside.
the creek is that. There's a west side and an east side. It's basically it's where Springfield is, some of the area on the east, but not all of the east. There's like a little creek that goes,
That's right, over there towards the end.
yes. I lived in Hillside for about 21 years,
Yeah,
so
it's
I'm familiar with that area.
There's, near Gale, all that, it's not
Near
your
Gale,
area.
yes.
It's not your
Yes.
area.
Exactly, but it's that part of Hillside. Amparo Gutierrez, where the school is,
That's
which
your
is,
area.
that's the area, yes.
And Calle del Norte on the south
On the
side.
south side,
And on Springfield to the west.
to the west.
To Man Road. Then what?
Because it takes Esperanza
It takes
Street,
Belmont, which is on the west, all the way up to the highway, then it goes down the highway to
Exactly.
Del Mar, right, all the way up.
well, it doesn't go to Del Mar, it goes to the west of the freeway. You know where you go, kind of make that little curve that goes on the
Sure, sure, sure.
freeway?
Sure.
South of that, which is Flecha Lane, not a lot of population there, but that
But
area.
you also have, the west of the freeway, where you also
The
have
west,
the,
Guadalupe
Guadalupe
Street,
Street.
Guadalupe, you have La Colonia Guadalupe, you have
You have
the,
Mines Road,
no Mines Road at all. That belongs to Judge Salinas.
well, we wish you the best,
Thank you.
and, hopefully 2020 is gonna be a gathering of great individuals up here.
And like I said, there will be change. It just depends what the voters want. You want real change? I'm the person. Because I think that I bring a lot of knowledge, the technology. We've been doing, e-filing is something else that I have in mind, where you don't literally have to go down there to file. You can file through your own internet.
And the-
And that's something that, sometimes you wanna know if you've been sued. I wanna be able to put that in the internet. We do it in the county courts and we do it in the district courts. If I wanna know if Maria Elena Morales has been sued, I look in the internet and I look under my name and oh, yes, I have been sued. Cause sometimes you don't realize that people, for example, in the area of taxes, which I did collection for 10 years, they go look for you and they don't find you, they post it. How many of us know that you run down to the courthouse right before you go into the Justice Center where you pay your taxes? And if you look there and you see somebody that they posted a lawsuit, they didn't give you notice. They said, I didn't find you, so we're gonna post it. And you can get a judgment, default judgment. But this way, we put it in the internet and we publicize it and it's accessible to the ordinary citizen. You can look up your name and see if you've been sued. That's another one of my projects in modernizing this office.
Well, it needs to be done, because a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of stuff that people do not know about and needs to be brought forward. Changing the subject a little bit, on January 11th, we're gonna be hosting debates, and hopefully you'll come here, because I'll be having
I'll
a
be more
debate
than happy to
with the justice of peace
come
and some of the others.
and, you know, offer whatever knowledge I have.
What-
Like I said, I've been proactive. I've been a member of United Way, president of the Bar Association. One of my honors has been that I was given a certificate called the Seven Seals Certificate for assisting our active members in the military with making sure that no one sues them, takes default judgments against them, because to me, that is of primary importance. When our young men and women are out there fighting for us, and we're trying to take judgments against them when the law says you can't. So I was awarded that a few years back because I made sure that we would not take default judgments and try to take their properties away from our active servicemen and service persons.
And we have to protect them, because when the war started in Afghanistan and Iraq, a lot of servicemen would come back and they had no homes.
Yes.
They were not, they're lost. We basically turned our backs. I say we in general turned our backs on them. I mean, they should have bill collectors and all this should have just stopped. You know what?
Exactly.
It stops now because they're over there protecting their service. They're in service right now. They're in active duty, and they didn't. They continued.
The tax code says that we can't even sue them. And it says that if I'm trying to sue someone who's an active service person, and I know, and somebody tells me that, I can't do it. I can't just say, oh, I didn't hear you say your son is in Afghanistan, your son is in Iraq, your son is wherever in the world he might be, protecting us. I can't turn a deaf ear to that. I have to say, wait a minute, I can't even sue your son. Thank you very much for the service that your son is providing for us, or your daughter's providing for us, instead of, well, I don't care, I have no proof. No, I mean, we have to stop that, and that's why I got that award. And I even devised the form, whenever anybody went to court and said, oh, my daughter and my son are the owners of this property, and I would say, okay, just fill this out, send me the orders later, your deployment later, and then, but we'll stop. Stop that and protecting our senior citizens who are 65 and over and are still being sued for taxes. The law protects them. And it says the same thing. As soon as we know about it, you stop collection efforts. We can't collect from them for their property.
And we do need to do that.
Yes, I feel
And
very strongly about
I
that.
commend you with that, for standing up for that. And let's move forward. And again, thank you for coming here.
Thank you,
We'll see
Paul.
you on the 11th.
I'll be more than happy to participate in any debates.
And Happy New Year.
Likewise, it's
And-
going to be an exciting new year.
Absolutely. Folks out there, you be safe. Remember, if you had too much to drink on New Year's Eve, call an Uber, call a taxi. Let's not make more danger out there. Other than that, peace.
The following political paid advertisements do not reflect the political opinions of the program or its associates. Any political campaign or candidate who wishes to purchase advertising can do so. Advertising is open to all on behalf of Gloves Off.